All right, everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and we're going to be talking about the low star relics today. This has been a part of our update now for a little bit over a week, I think, that you've been able to take characters below 7 stars to relic levels. I have done that with 2 of my characters, with Captain Atano and with Scorch, but even my, where is he at? Quiggled and then Kix as well. I have them both at gear 12 right now. I could bring them to relics. I probably should just because I can, but not willing to do that quite yet because I am trying to save some Zetas to make sure I have enough for Jedi Master Mace Windu, Temple Guard, Depa, that kind of situation. But I think what's important here is to explain my methodology for how I think players should be interacting with this. While this is a very good change, while this is a very player-friendly change, I do think that there are some aspects that you're going to want to be careful. There's going to be a lot of room for mistakes, and you're going to want to make sure that you are being very intentional and asking yourself the right questions before you do invest a character into relics before they're 7-star. Because when you do that, again, remember, you can never take gear off of a character. You can always add gear. I can always put more gear onto a character. I cannot take it off. And with this update, there's going to be people who will make more and more mistakes because they're going to take a character to relics thinking that that was a good decision and then never get around to finishing off the character, and now they've got a subpar relic that isn't helping their account, and that signal data could have gone to something else. So we're going to be kind of walking through that today. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like, subscribe, comment. Let's give a shout to our channel members for their continued support. If you guys are ever interested in joining, that link is down below, along with a link to our Discord server. Go check it out. Really just appreciate everybody keeping the faith, believing in me. If you guys have ever, even just, learned a little bit from me, let me know in the comments. It means the world to know that my content is helping people get better in this game. So without further ado, let's get in here to this introduction from the majestic, the artistic, the really, really good with the computer stuff that I am not, Moonborn. Got to get to this intro, and then we'll talk today about these low star relics. All right, folks, so here is kind of the thought process, right? Here's kind of what I'm thinking and how I'm kind of moving through this. So these low star relics, again, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do you actually have the capability of taking advantage of that character? And I'm not talking about take advantage of, like, many people take advantage of things. I'm asking you the simple question, by bringing that character to relic levels, is it doing something that you're not able to do right now? For my Scorch, that answer is yes. By having a relic Scorch, I'm able to utilize a full relic squad of clone troopers. My last GAC round, I was the only person in the bracket that did not have a full squad of Darkside clones at relic levels at lock-in because everybody else had wailed on them or had them relic 9 already, and I did not. So to show you a few examples from my roster, and we'll talk more about some other things here, thinking about the new clones in Order 66. The clones for me was a very logical decision. I have Lord Vader. I have Tarkin. I have the ability to take full advantage of this team in 3v3, full advantage of this team in 5v5. That's, to me, a very logical decision. You've got everything you need to do. This is in my farming plans. I'm going for Mace Windu. There's nothing that's going to stop me from getting there. So this became a no-brainer option for me. On the flip side, the Depa Balaba and Temple Guard, that's not worth me bringing them to relics. Even though I'm going to do it eventually, it's not worth it right now because to really reach their full potential, they need Mace Windu. Without Mace Windu, they just would kind of sit there. It's not worth the gear that could potentially go on some other units right now that I could get that immediate benefit out of, like Scorch. So in this first example, what you're kind of seeing is the characters that I am looking to gear. One of them, I have their optimal team ready to go, and the other one I don't. So that's one of the criteria, is thinking about optimal team, thinking about, are you really going to be able to use them to their fullest extent day one? And of course, when we say fullest extent, you got to say that with a grain of salt, because my Scorch at Relic 4, he's got decent stats, 130,000 protection, 75,000 health, 72% armor. That's a pretty solid, stats and everything. But if I went to my squad arena here and I click on Supersonics Scorch, now he's got, more defense, but you look, 90,000 health, 200,000 protection. coming down here, 78% armor. Like, this is a far better Scorch than mine is right now because he's got that Relic 9, right? He's got, this character at Relic 9 much further along, so it makes a lot more sense, right? So that's, while it won't be to the fullest extent, it will still be good enough that I can potentially at least force my opponent to have to use a semi-decent counter here. Thinking going through with the Pirates, as I showed you, my Quiggled and Kicks are Gear 12 right now, but I did Relic Itano, I have Relics me. I do think Quiggled and Kicks will probably go to Relics here shortly, simply because I think they will provide benefit to my account. They will provide benefit to the roster because I do have the other Pirates to take advantage of them for the time being, and I think that will help me in the raid and in other game modes. I just have to wait until Kicks is 5-star before I really go full bore on this. But that's another situation that you can kind of see where I'm juggling the, okay, do I relic this character, relic this character, relic this one. That's kind of how I'm viewing that here. So these guys, if you have Quiggled, if you have SM33, and you're able to use those in the raid, this would be another good example of working on the characters that you have at least some potential to utilize to a fuller extent, rather than the Jedi Vanguard, where we still need Jedi Master Mace Windu. Now, let's keep looking at some of these other characters who could really benefit. One of the biggest areas that my head went to, Wampa, Darth Malak, and General Skywalker. Think about when you unlock Wampa. Wampa is a character that we unlock our king. He is unlocked through Guild Event Currency 2, or Get 1, and Mark 2 Raid Currency. He's now a 2-star unlock, but you need to at least get him to 4-star before you can use him in Relics. But because of how long it can potentially take you to get Wampa to 7-star, to be able to relic him when he's at 4-star is massive. And this is one of the best characters in Grand Arena in the early game. You will still use this guy a lot as a solo. And to be able to make that early on investment in him before he is fully starred out is huge. Adds a lot of really good things to Wampa. So that's one where I was like, yeah, I really like that. Then you have Darth Malak and General Skywalker, both of whom unlock at 5-star still. They will both unlock at 5-star. The difference with those two characters is that for the longest time, you really weren't able to take full advantage of their abilities, full advantage of their stuff, because they'd sit at 5-star, Gear 11, until you took them to 7-star, and it took a long time because their shards, again, much like Wampa, are gated behind special currencies, Get 1, and Mark II Raid Currency now. The fact that you'll be able to utilize both of these characters at Relic 3 when they are 5-star is huge. It really will add some complexity to your roster. You will feel like you can actually make some progress rather than have all these Relic clones and then General Skywalker sitting there at Gear 11 and really not being a bigger threat. Having them at Relics makes this a lot better. So my mind immediately went to characters like these three, where I wanted to call this out specifically as I think this is huge. Those three right there are going to go from what were, maybe we'll get them to Relics to now, immediately impactful the moment you unlock them and have them at those Relics. So I wanted to bring those characters out. But a few other examples, when you look here, I've got kind of a mix of characters, and you look at like Captain Rex and Captain Drogon, they've got a lot of really good tags. They can fit into a bunch of different teams. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But Iden Versio, she's a pilot in a very good ship. Her Imperial Trooper team in Grand Arena can be very, very good. She's one of those where, she is on an earlier node, but depending when you were trying to farm her or you're in the process, taking her to Relics early could be huge because Iden does hit hard. She can really carry you to some places with a Relic Iden. So that's a big one for me. Similar situation with Zori. She really lifts the Resistance team up to completely new levels. A lot of players might have Zori unlocked. They just never were really able to put Relics on her. Now you're going to be able to do that without having to go and farm that hard node for however long it will take. And Jedi Knight Anakin, kind of another similar story. If you're building up your Jedi team, but you've never really gotten to farm Jedi Knight Anakin, as long as you get him to 4-star, he's still going to be capable of getting to Relic levels and at least get some boost and start, one-shotting people with that AoE if you're using the Qui-Gon Omicron. And then we've got the Sith Triumvirate here, which again, just another good example of a team. None of these characters are Galactic Legend requirements. So none of these characters right here, you're going to be able to go, they're not in your way most of the time. Especially someone like Darth Nihilus who doesn't share a node with anyone else. It can be a tall order to go and farm that when you have everything else to catch up on. But if you bring him to, 4 stars, 5-star, equip him with a few extra relics, he'll be fine. I had this team at Relic 3 for the longest time. And they were still solid. And, so I like that, right? I like all of this. I think these are good options. What I do want to make sure you guys consider is that I'm not endorsing that you don't go and finish the characters to stars just because you have them at relics. That's not at all what I'm endorsing. That's not at all what I want you to do. How you can use this is get use out of a character earlier than normal because their relics can be on them earlier. That's the way you've got to think about this. This is this change isn't just about, oh yeah, you only have to get characters to 5-star now. No, you still need to get them to 7-star for so many other reasons, especially if they're in the journey guide where their journey guide requires them to be at 7-star. But you're going to be able to actually use the character, understand their kit a little bit more, think about 6-dot mods. You'll be able to work on that sooner. There's a lot of really good things around this that otherwise would be missing. The one thing we will have to kind of discuss, we will have to balance and figure out is your resource management, because that has shifted. Now, with my ability to bring characters to Gear 12 relics a lot sooner in their SWGO life cycle, I'm going to have to come up with a methodology that works for me to ensure that I have the right amount of gear coming in that I can sustain the relics, the gear that I'm equipping on these teams. So that's the end of the video, folks. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like, subscribe, comment. I love you all. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.